Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where our purpose is to help create a better future. Learn from our world's experts how to improve your organisation sustainably. Learn how to achieve and sustain an excellence journey for yourself, others, and the planet.
And I'm your host, Brad Jevons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. We are proudly brought to you in association with SA Partners, a world-leading business transformation consultancy. SA Partners are a truly purposeful company focused on helping organisations achieve sustainable improvement for themselves, others, and the planet.
Today we have one of the biggest legends in lean and innovation joining us, Mr. Pascal Dennis. Pascal's book, Getting the Right Things Done, was a game changer for me. It provided a key aspect of the lean system and management system to deploy strategy and culture and really get people focused and executing the right things. His recent book, Harnessing Digital Disruption, brings in the world of technology and agile. Pascal's running workshops upcoming on these dual systems, how to optimize your current business with lean, create your future business with more digital and agile. To get involved in these workshops, you can go to his website, leansystems.org/GRTD. That's Golf Romeo Tango Delta /index.html. Let's get into the episode. Welcome to episode 140 of the Enterprise Excellence Podcast. It is such a pleasure to have Mr. Pascal Dennis back on the show with us today. Pascal is the author of many award-winning books, Andy and Me, Getting the Right Things Done, The Remedy, Lean Production Simplified, and Harnessing Digital Disruption. Today we'll be exploring getting the right things done in a digital world. This is such an important topic. Now more than ever, empowering, focusing, and enabling the adaptation of your whole organisation in a focused way is so important. I've learned so much from Pascal over the years and look forward to this very important and relevant conversation. Let's get into the episode. Pascal, thanks for joining us again, mate. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure to chat with you, Brad. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. Mate, this critical topic, to me, this is like the nearest thing to a silver bullet. But why is it important to get the right things done in our digital world that we're now in?
So lean, also known as Toyota Production System or operational excellence, are excellent for protecting the core business, but it's no longer enough. Nowadays, you also have to ignite new growth using digital methods. Otherwise, you'll end up like a company I know. They make parts for combustion engines, and they have a superb factory and superb supply chain and lean processes, and they manage bottlenecks well, but they're on the road to obsolescence.
So the challenge is that, I guess, traditionally with lean, we've focused it on optimizing the current business, which is done really well. But if we're not adapting the current for the future business, it's a problem.
It's a real problem. I call it ambidexterity or dual capability. So we have to protect the core and ignite new growth through digital methods at the same time. And that's the challenge going forward for the board, for the C-suite. In a way, we're victims of our own success because lean has been so effective. I think there's a tendency to think that, well, we have answered all the questions. That's not a good place to be at. Usually when you feel that way, when you feel you have all the answers, it's time to really start questioning. And that's what triggered my personal journey the past 5 or 6 years. I have spent most of that time in the innovation hotspots of the world, like Singapore and Silicon Valley, just learning and practicing and trying to absorb the skill set and the mindset that underlies the great tech companies. And it's been a wonderful experience. And I've come back humbled, to be honest. And I'm keen to share what I've learned. And I mentioned we have a new workshop, Getting the Right Things Done in a Digital World. It's the first of a series wherein I share what I've learned in these places. And it's wonderful stuff. And I urge the lean community to get on board and learn it. I think you all, and I know that you're familiar with it. I know that the community will appreciate it.
Yeah, Pascal, it's a big one, isn't it? Because I was just re-listening to an episode I had with Jeff Sutherland, from the world of Agile 2 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, Jeff in there talks about how he had to build training in Japan for Agile because businesses of Toyota wanted to do it because they're like, we're getting left behind on the innovation stake. And I think I've always driven Toyota cars, and boy, haven't they turned it around even themselves now. Like how they innovate, and they're actually cutting edge. Whereas my 12-year-old Hilux, it was lucky to have electric windows. It hasn't missed a beat, and there's not one bit that has been poor quality. But back
Yep.
then, maybe they were missing the boat with innovation because you could have bought a car with automatic reverse parking and all these other features.
Yeah.
But they've caught up. They've caught up.
They have it's a big challenge for every company, including Toyota, because you have to learn how to live and excel in two very different worlds. I asked myself, what's the difference between protecting the core and igniting new growth? And it's that very thing. You're living in two worlds. And I use that very consciously. It turns out that Aristotle, the father of philosophy, or certainly Western philosophy, defined this 2,300 years ago. He said there's a world of things that cannot be otherwise. In other words, science, technology, and lean belongs in that world. So if you have a factory, you develop good process lines, you identify bottlenecks, you elevate the bottlenecks, you will reduce lead time and improve throughput every time. It is the world of things that cannot be otherwise. And like you, I'm an engineer, a chemical engineer, so I'm comfortable in that world. But igniting new growth exists in the world of things that can be otherwise. In other words, a public opinion, taste, psychology, politics, etc.
Thought.
And in that, yeah, all of the above. And in that world, things change all the time. And they have a word for it. They call it volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. It is a VUCA world. And it's a completely different place. So you need a new mindset, new skill sets. And as I say, that's what I've spent the past 5 or 6 years trying to learn and absorb and translate. But it's very different.
Yeah, totally different.
Just one example, if I may.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we had a strategy session with a long-standing client, a superb chemical company, specialty chemicals, and they've been in the business-to-business space for the longest time. So they're engineers dealing with engineers, and that's the world of things that cannot be otherwise. Now they're trying to sell in the consumer space, and they're having a hard time, and I'm trying to teach them that it doesn't follow the same laws as the other world. So, for example, they're learning that if you do a focus group with a bunch of people and ask them what they want in a given consumer product, people will say, yes, we love that. We definitely would buy that. And then they don't buy it.
Yeah.
That's almost a truism.
Yeah.
So people say one thing and they do the opposite. And they're having a hard time understanding it.
Yeah. And it's this innovation cycle you're talking about, to be willing to throw new things out there and learn from it that people don't even know they want, isn't it? Like,
They don't even know they want.
yeah. Pascal, you mentioned with organizations, you hinted that part of the challenge is we have been so fixated on maybe purely lean, which has been important. We have to optimize the current business.
Indeed.
And that can stop us thinking of other things we need in our business to be able to be truly great. But is there anything else apart from that you think stopped organizations up till now really looking at what's happened in that technology world, the IT world, and applying it to their business also?
Yeah, I think there's a certain sense of, as I said, we have the answers. We know what to do. We're the inheritors of a fantastic tradition that goes back to W. Edwards Deming, etc. And maybe a sense of resentment or uncertainty when it comes to the world of tech. It's humbling for the Toyotas, etc., of the world to realize that their market cap is a small fraction of, Google, Amazon, Facebook, fill in the blank. So it's probably part of that. It probably a little bit of fear as well. Who are these young people that are creating these unicorns, and how come we're in the shade? 10 years ago, everybody wanted to know what we were doing, and we're no longer that relevant anymore. So it's a combination of things like that. Also, the mindset's very different, and in the skill set. So probably there's a little bit of fear, a fear of looking foolish, perhaps. But certainly, as I mentioned, my practice focuses on the board and the C-suite and helping them to change their minds so that they can lead a meaningful digital transformation. And there are four big blockers, and we've talked about these, but one of the big blockers is fear. They're afraid of looking foolish, and I don't blame them, because they're good people. They want to look like they know what they're doing. They're committed to their communities. And then somebody says, "Oh, what does blockchain mean for you? What does Chat GPT mean for you and our marketing?" And they don't know what to say.
Yeah, you're right. It's and things are changing so fast, aren't they? That there's that constant fear of the new coming at you. Pascal, what can organizations do to get everyone, focused on the right things and doing the right things in the digital world?
I think for a start, you have to get the board and the C-suite on board. And as I say, that's my focus. They have to understand why we must become ambidextrous. Then we have to agree that we're going to support the transformation fully. So that means giving it financial, emotional, psychological, strategic space. It means providing executive air cover, because the innovators, let's say you have an innovation lab or accelerators, what have you, will be beset upon by all the blockers in the organization. So you have to commit to, yes, we're going to do this. Yes, we're going to give them the space. Yes, we're going to provide executive cover, and we're going to visibly support. So I'm going to show up at the monthly deep dives and playbacks, and I'm going to listen with respect to the blockers, and I'm going to do something. So if the innovation team says, yeah, we're trying to innovate a brand new commercial banking app that will do A, B, and C, but purchasing, gives our fintech partners a 200-page contract and says, sign here and give away all your rights, or legal, or risk, or engineering, or what have you. So the blockers are all over the place, many. So you've got to have the commitment, you've got to make the space, and then you've got to visibly lead the transformation. There's no shortcut, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So it really sounds to me, Pascal, like it's that dual engine now of like the traditional optimize the current business for the lean, innovate and create that future with the digital, harnessing digital disruption, all that agile element that you and I are involved in. And then, but ultimately get the board and C-suite on, get them to understand why, get the support happening, and then help them remove blockers. For our listeners, Pascal, many of them will be maybe senior leaders or business improvement leaders. What advice would you give them at the starting point there of, mate, getting the board and C-suite on? Because that is a tough gig for a lot of them, I know. They'll be sitting there going, whoa, Pascal, how do I go about that?
Well, we begin with two things. One is sensitize them to what good looks like. So we have something we call a digital executive forum. So depending on the industry, we connect the C-suite and a senior team with the best in the local and international tech ecosystem. So they start to see this is what good looks like. They start to break bread with, and have a beer, etc., with the tech colleagues, and they begin to see, okay, it's not as scary as I thought. So that's one, digital executive forum. And often we'll take them to innovation hotspots. We'll take them to Singapore and let's go to the innovation lab of ABC, and their eyeballs are like this, or let's go to Silicon Valley. And then we follow up with, we call it executive mentorship. So executive mentorship has two streams. One is protect the core business, so to learn the fundamentals of lean, and then the fundamentals of fixing core customer journeys. So that's protecting the core. And then 201 is igniting new growth. So they learn how to reform customer journeys, how to create new customer journeys, new businesses, new offerings by doing. Again, it's very interactive, short, focused, practical, and they start to feel some comfort. Actually, I had a wonderful session with a longstanding client, a wealth management company, and the president is one of my favorite people. His name is Louis, and he said he's a French Canadian with a big heart, and he says, this is just so fantastic. I want everybody in our industry to know this. I can't tell you how much we've gotten out of this. I'm so proud of our system, and he's an example of how this can work. I mean, 5 years ago, if you'd mentioned blockchain or AI or data, he probably would cringe. But now he's doing it. He's leading innovation. It's a marvelous thing.
That's awesome. So it's really about taking him to be able to experience like where it's already been done before, and I guess then having the systems to help educate and coach them through. Pascal, what do you find the why is for them? Like you mentioned, really get clear on the why. What are you finding is largely cutting through there on that conversation of, well, why do we want to do this?
I think they have to explicitly link digital to their overall aspiration and winning logic. So a digital strategy that, for example, shows their vulnerabilities, and they say, whoa, we'd better do something about that, or we are in big trouble. And then the strategy also shows what's their current capability, the technical capability, the people capability, their process capability. And they say, whoa, we've got big gaps. And then from that, plus the education digital executive forum, they can say, okay, we can develop a thesis now and a portfolio. If we have this balanced portfolio of 10 or 12 innovations, that's really going to give our growth plan a boost. And it's really going to shore up the weaknesses we just identified in this disruption map. So that very logical process makes them see our aspiration is supported by our digital thesis and portfolio, and it just makes sense for us to do this. So there's a very, very practical dollars and cents justification for the effort.
Yeah, it sounds like all part of that strategic piece, but you're bringing into that strategic piece that whole innovation, the digital side, that adaptability for the future, which is powerful. So when it comes to support, like the third element you mentioned was support. Make it fun. Help to support the organization. What do you find that looks like? What does that look like, and how can we go about helping executives and boards in that regard?
Now, do you mean how can executives and boards help the innovation activities, or how can we, as mentors, help the board?
I guess there's two questions there, and what I'm thinking there, but both really, Pascal. Like, how can they help? But then, how can we help?
Well, I'll start with the first part of it. So they visibly support means they have to attend the playbacks in the innovation lab. They have to give feedback and take action on the blockers that are identified at those playbacks. They have to tirelessly communicate the aspiration and winning logic. Mr. Piyush Gupta at DBS Bank in Singapore, the best digital bank in the world, is the epitome of that. And if you go to YouTube, you'll see dozens and dozens of videos of Mr. Gupta just again and again and again reiterating the aspiration, best digital bank in the world, and their winning logic, beautifully articulated in his letters to the board over the years. So we have to visibly embody the transformation and be positive and full of energy, full of optimism. This is going to be fine. We're all going to get through this. And also, of course, commit to a fair, generous transition, because innovation can lead to obsolescence of certain jobs. So way in advance, as part of the board commitment, we have to say, okay, and as we transition and obsolesce some of our existing offerings, we're going to give people the opportunity to retrain. Or if they want to retire, we're going to be generous about retirement. We're going to keep them informed. And then it's fair, it's fair, and people will make good decisions. So these are all elements that are incumbent upon leaders to sustain this transformation.
Yeah, I can really hear in there, Pascal, you're mentioning the piece of that constant communication of the vision and the purpose and that aspiration and storytelling. I could hear in there a lot, but then also
Indeed.
to really thinking of the people factors and how do you bring that comfort and safety to the people as part of this journey, which is, I guess, looking at your people systems and the language you use through there too.
Indeed.
That's really, really powerful. Mate, with the final bit, you already mentioned really by the senior leaders attending innovation forums or team, different routines that they're doing around innovation. Removal of blockers and challenges is critical. Within an executive point of view, Pascal, do you see that the executive would be running a similar type of meeting themselves where they are focused on the improvements and the actions and the execution to overcome challenges and blockers? What's your thoughts there?
I think that the most effective leaders that I've seen, I mentioned Mr. Gupta, there are many others, attend, listen to the report out, the status of each POC, proof of concept, next step, what have you done, what have you learned, what are you doing next, and what are your biggest blockers? And they take those blockers and reflect on them, and when they come back, they report on what's been done. So they take it personally that I'm going to ensure that those blockers are removed. So if purchasing is demanding 200-page contracts of fintech partners, we'll talk to purchasing. If risk is saying, no, we cannot accept digital signatures, pen and ink only. Well, no, that's not true. We're going to address that with risk, et cetera, et cetera. So you only have to do this a few times, we found, and the organization realizes, okay, this is serious. I can't keep deferring and delaying this. I have to do this.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you're really breaking down the bureaucracy that can creep into larger companies through that behavior of senior leaders, which is, really impressive. But with it, Pascal, indeed. I can see then that what we've spoken about so far really helps to build that, I guess, that culture and the shift and the focus, and that we're starting to move this way. Getting the Right Things Done is one of my most favorite books ever, Pascal, that you wrote. It was a real game changer for me on strategy deployment. And I'm guessing then that's a key backbone then to take this direction, this vision, and this new approach, and then enable every team to start and person to start to align into that.
Indeed. So as you suggested earlier, Brad, the fundamentals of lean, of operational excellence, lay a very nice foundation for a digital transformation. So that's really good news. Now, we need to build on that, and we have to be humble and open to learning new methods, but everything we've learned is not wasted. So for example, to create a new customer journey requires rapid ideation up the innovation curve and answering the 3 key questions. Does it wow? Does it work? Can we make money? And how do you get yourself up that curve? Well, it's through lean experiments. The difference between that and, the traditional lean problem solving is speed. You have to move much more quickly. For example, when you're trying to validate problem fit, that this customer really does have this need, even though they're not aware of it. There is an emotional job to be done. We tested it. We've got a landing page. Whenever we make that offering, they always click on it, and they're not sure why they click. But you have to be able to ideate much, much more quickly because you're in that volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world. It's Aristotle's other world. Whereas in the first world, where you and I grew up, we're engineers and we have time. We've got a production line. Okay, we've changed the sequence and the content and the amount of WIP in this process, and we're going to run it for a week and see if the throughput improves. Well, that's good. It's great. But we have to be a lot quicker in the other world.
Yeah. I guess the world we grew up in was a complicated world, but the world that we're talking about here is a complex world. So
Indeed.
They require that different approach, don't they? Let's go. What would be... Oh, sorry, mate.
I was going to say that we have many more unknown unknowns, if I can use that, in the world of digital innovation. Whereas we we have a better idea what the unknowns are in the first world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that
true.
supplier is dodgy. That's a dodgy supplier. We better buffer that joker.
Yeah. Yeah. Up it up. Yeah. Pascal, on this journey going forward, what would be your enterprise excellence 2-minute tip? Like, what would you advise people if you had 2 minutes to give them some advice?
I think you've got to make everything as visible as you can. I call it a lighthouse. You've got to have a space in virtual and analog where you just make clear for your team, what are we trying to achieve? What's happening right now? Are we winning? Are we losing? Where are the pain points? And what are we doing about those pain points? And that is Lean 101. That's fundamental Lean. And that's an example of how what we've learned is not wasted at all. So that lighthouse, as I call it, is essential to a digital transformation, as it is to protecting your core business.
Yeah, that's neat. So a lot of the systems that we've really worked on out of the world of Lean, they support this more complex space of innovation. Like, it's not like you throw it out. It's all good stuff to build on. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Pascal.
So in the middle wall, as we call it, the what's happening right now, in addition to your dashboards and the rest of it, you'll have perhaps an innovation funnel that has 3 swim lanes in it, for your ABC type innovations. And each funnel has a little card, a Kanban, showing what's the innovation, what's the status, et cetera. So you're not just reflecting on your dashboards and your results and your action plan statuses, but you're also looking at your innovation activities and portfolio and blockers and making coordinated decisions that take the whole chessboard into account.
That's powerful. Pascal, what's been a recent insight for you, mate? You're now living in this world that bridges 2 traditional focus areas, that protect the core, optimize the core, create the new. And I'm sure there's been some insights.
It's funny. We had a very intense session last week with a wonderful, long-standing partner, terrific chemical company, as I said, very smart people, and they've become good friends. And we're in the midst of this transition to ambidexterity and building the ability to create new growth. And I realized it's much harder than it appears. So I realized I was a bit demoralized because they'd been saying, yes, we get it. And then as we launch a series of innovations, I could see they didn't really get it. So making the shift from the world of things the world where things cannot be otherwise, in this case, chemistry, chemical engineering, to this other volatile, complex world is harder than I thought, even for really capable, terrific people. So, we'll double back and we'll just drip on the fundamentals again. We'll get there. It just takes longer than I thought.
Yeah. Habit change and the complexities that impact habit change can be difficult, can't they?
Yeah. And again, in a sense, we're victims of our own success. So this company has been superb. And we've worked together for 12 years and it's double-digit growth, really good EBITDA. It's flattening off a little bit now as, the disruptors start to work. And that unfortunately gives you perhaps a bit of complacency. We have all the answers.
Yeah.
They'll be fine. It's taking and going to take a little longer than I thought, but that's normal.
I think there's something in that conversation, Pascal, I guess, for organizations to think about is that especially in Australia, Pascal, like we haven't had a business cycle really for 30 something years.
Yeah.
And
you've been exceptionally lucky.
I know, but seriously, a business cycle has to come. Can the world just can Australia just keep infinite growth going? I don't know. Anyway, I think it will make you match fit, but won't it? Being able to build this adaptability capability as well as optimizing the current business will make you really match fit for whatever you have to face, I guess.
It really will. A related insight, as I watched this team, which comprised young people on the front line doing the experimentation, the innovation, and the C-suite folks, I realized also that the mindsets are substantially different. The frontline team was very quick to do experiments. Can we tweak the landing page? Can we connect with an influencer? Can we do a series of short videos on TikTok? So they were ideating like crazy, and my colleagues, and who are like me, and were struggling with it. I've got a foot in both worlds, so I wasn't quite as shocked, but I could sense, well, this is different. I'm from this world, and I know what they're doing, but there's a big gap between them.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah, it's amazing, especially with the youth. Like they're largely just already in that experimental type thinking on things that are complex that you're trying to learn from and give customers things that they didn't even know they want.
Indeed.
Pascal, how can people reach out to you and learn more? Like you mentioned the workshop, the books. Do you mind sharing that for our listeners?
Sure. We are offering the first of a series of workshops reflecting what I've learned the past 5 or 6 years. This one is called Getting the Right Things Done in a Digital World, and it's the first of 4 or 5. I'm really excited. They're fabulous things, and up until now, we've just offered them to our close partners. So check that out, Getting the Right Things Done in a Digital World. If you go to Lean Pathways blog, just do a search on that, you'll get lots of information there. If you want to get more info about me, my handle is Pascal Dennis, then HDD for Harnessing Digital Disruption. So Pascal Dennis, HDD will get you to LinkedIn and our website and the Amazon page and so on.
Thanks, Pascal. And I also understand, Pascal, for our listeners that don't know, you and I are chatting, you've got a new album coming out tomorrow. So for those that don't know, Pascal is a real gun in the world of blues and country and all sorts of music in that regard. So Pascal, do you mind just letting listeners know on that for those that are interested in those genres? And
you're very kind to mention it. The pillars of my life are management and music, and I have the most incredible band in the world. And we have a record coming out tomorrow. It's called Shame on the Sun. And my handle on the music side is Pascal Dennis Music. And this is our 3rd album in 3 years. And we're on all the major online platforms. So Pascal Dennis Music will get you to our website, our Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. And again, we have a team of very bright young people that's doing the social media marketing, and they just do magic. And you'll see the things they're doing with videos and other offerings that just blows me away. And the other, if I may, our band is learning from the management side. I'm teaching them, lean, if you will, and lean digital. So we have an agile meeting every Friday morning, and a tech stack that allows collaboration and high quality, high throughput. So they're really enjoying it. They said, this is the most fun we've had in a long time. There's no waste. All we do is play music together. So anyhow, that you're very kind to mention it. And I hope that's not boring to folks.
It's great to hear that you practice what you preach, mate. And, thanks, Pascal, for helping us create a better future, mate, both musically and also management wise and in our future going through an organizations. Thanks, mate.
Thank you so much. And thanks for all you do, Brad. It's always a pleasure, and best of the family.
Thanks, Pascal. Ditto. What a great episode. Remember, you can connect into the Getting the Right Things Done in a Digital World workshop with Pascal. Check out our show notes for details. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast to help others gain insights and create a better future. There were 2 key takeaways for me from this episode. Firstly, optimize the current organization, which Lean is traditionally and currently really good at helping with. The second is create the future organization, which is where Agile comes in. To me, an organization that can harness these 2 practices epitomize enterprise excellence. They'll be profitable as they are optimizing their current business, and they'll be growing as they are competitive in what they currently do, but also innovating to bring customers and new products and services and experiences to life rapidly and ongoing. An organization that is continuously improving their capabilities in these 2 areas will create a better future, be well positioned to handle anything that comes their way. The second key takeaway for me was the part the board and senior leadership play in this, creating and communicating the vision, constant storytelling and reinforcement, attending agile meetings, running their own, understanding impediments and roadblocks and rapidly removing them, promoting and celebrating great work, and helping the organisation stay focused and adapt as needed to changing circumstances. Achieving an agile transformation is simple but not easy. The great opportunity for senior leaders and boards is the part they play in its success. Their behaviour and the systems they focus on implementing and improving will ultimately determine the outcome of the journey. It is great that people like Pascal are there to help senior leaders and boards in these journeys, help them learn, take the right approach, and provide them support for challenges that arise. Thanks again for your time and knowledge, Pascal. Thanks for helping us create a better future. Bye for now.